Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Tata Steel 2026. This is a tournament held annually for about 90 years now in Vakanzee in the Netherlands. It's a tournament that has welcomed many legends over the years, and it has been won by some of the greatest players of all time. Now, it has a Masters section with some of the best players in the world, including half of the candidates field this time. And it also has a challenger section with a lot of young stars that play against legends who are 2,600. So I'm going to cover the first 5 rounds in this video because I was traveling in Spain. I was also playing a match against Julian Song. I was in Barcelona. I flew back yesterday, and so I will catch you up on all the action. Before I do that, I would just like to say, here are a few of the comments that you've left me over the last few days. Why aren't you covering Tata Steel? Oh yeah, you obviously hate giving positive attention to Hans because you are a petty little man. Why aren't you covering Tata Steel? Because your boyfriends Magnus and Hikaru aren't in it. Figures, cover the big tournaments. That's the main reason many of us subscribe. And here's a bunch of other people complaining about me not covering Tata Steel. Folks, let me tell you something right now. If this is how some of you behave online, and you are 40 and 50-year-old grown men, I mean, I can see your YouTube profiles, it is utterly pathetic. I understand you can be excited for the coverage of major tournaments, that you like my recaps. That was the third image. But if you behave like that, I mean, I really hope you don't behave like that in real life. Really. Like, online, you are empowered to do crazy things under anonymity. And yet some of you even comment with your full name. I mean, goodness me. Really? Really? Take care of yourselves. Do better. I mean, my goodness. On that note, I'm going to show you some chess. All right, I always had plans to cover this tournament. I was playing my own match, and then I was doing the event in Barcelona. Didn't have time, all right? Good Lord. All right, we're going to kick things off with the very first game. Now, this game, round 1, was delayed by like 2 hours. There were massive protests due to the fact that I think the sponsor of the company has some sort of mining operation, didn't hit sort of European regulatory limits on certain pollutants. I don't exactly know what was going on. But this was the first game of the tournament. It was over before it started. Hans Neiman versus Vladimir Fedoseev. It was a Petrov defense with knight f3, knight f6. Knight takes. This is the main line. Now with black recently, I put out the Gotham Gambit with the move d5, the Petrov Gambit. Very sharp line, but these guys are rated a little bit too high to play like that. Instead, we have a very classical Petrov. All of this has been played before. Rook e1, bishop f5, queen b3. And the game got a little weird very quickly. Fedoseev did not play knight to a6, which is a move. He went queen d7, which defends b7, defends the bishop as well. Hans went c5, attacking the bishop, and then played this move knight c3. Now, I think this is preparation, because in this position, black can play the move knight takes c5. That move would, on the surface, just win a pawn, right? You play knight takes c5. You take it, and then black plays bishop takes d3. And I don't know, maybe there's some sort of knight to e5. I don't know. After knight takes c5, I guess bishop takes f5 is what you have to go for. Knight takes b3, bishop d7. White just basically completely sacrifices a rook, but plays like this. So has a piece for the rook. And then we'll try to win the second one back, and the computer evaluates this position as balanced. Now, here, Fedoseev makes a couple more moves, and at this point, he goes for knight takes c5. He thought he made all of the necessary preparations, and now he plays knight takes c5. This move loses on the spot. He blunders a tactical shot. He blunders that after knight takes c5, dc, bishop d3, white can simply play queen takes b7. And here Fedoseev resigned. Now you might be looking at this going, what? Yeah, well, it's not that he blundered queen takes b7. Fedoseev, obviously in this position, was planning to just simply play knight a6. And the point is that the bishop defends the knight. And black is threatening rook b8. The problem is that white just wins here by playing the move knight to e5. And the point is that the queen and the bishop are both under attack. If you take with the rook, I take that rook. If you take with this bishop, I take the queen. And Fedoseev literally just resigned the game. And he was clearly impacted, by the way, by the delay and everything like that. Just a very uncharacteristic mistake from him. But he would look to bounce back. And meanwhile, Hans Neiman played the game of his life a few rounds later. One of the other participants in the tournament is Aravind Chitambaram, who was ranked as high as number 9 in the world in 2025, which at this point for him must seem like ages ago, because it is pretty incredible. He has dropped below 2,700. Other players in the field, Javahir Sundarov, Yazkan Erdogmus, right? We have Matthias Bluebaum, we have Keymer, we have Gukesh playing, Eric Geisy playing, we have Pragg playing, we have Abdusattorov, Van Foreest, we have Anish Giri, etc. So we have a really, really stacked house. So look at this game from Hans and Aravind. It was a symmetrical English. Hans just playing c4, c5, playing d5, breaking the symmetry early and putting the knight back on c7. This is all very normal by black. You play like this, bishop e7, you play bishop d7. I've never seen in my life, but Hans spent some 6 minutes on this move. I think he was actually maybe stopping bishop takes c6. Like, I know it looks completely absurd, but there are some positions where this type of structure can be very difficult to play. And so Hans just kind of shut that down with bishop d7, knight c4, f6, and went for queenside counterplay with b5. It's a very sharp position. So Aravind has to drop back with his knight. Black castles. There's a square on d5. You're obviously going to try to occupy it. f5 is the wrong move here from white. He actually should take on e5 and maybe open up the rook. That was the better structural decision. By locking the position, Hans can plant the knight on d4, and actually white's initiative on the king side is not particularly strong. Hans repositions and keeps firing down on the queen side. So Hans already has the better position. And the thing about this tournament is that because it's already around the halfway point, you can kind of see who's struggling, and Hans with a ton of confidence from that first win. Aravind with a loss early on in the tournament. You know, it's just not the same. It's not going to be the same type of play. Hans playing with flow, up 20 minutes on the clock. Look at this, just queenside expansion. And frankly speaking, he's just going to promote a pawn. Like, you can't stop this, right? So we have king h1, knight b3, knight, he grabs the bishop, b3, a4 is coming. It's just a matter of time for Aravind. Aravind's going to have to, you know, muddy the waters. He goes for g5 because otherwise he was just going to lose. And this allows Hans to get really creative. So first of all, Hans is just going to walk his pawn all the way down. It's 2 squares away from queening now. Aravind now has to come back and play some defense, but all of the initiative is with Hans. And when positions get extremely sharp and complicated, you have opportunities like this. It looks like the attack has been thwarted, but Hans sacrifices the queen. The queen is gone. To be honest with you, though, this is like a 5-point pawn, and this is a 1-point rook. It's not exactly like sacrificing a queen. Aravind can't even take because rook c1 is coming down the board, and Hans clears out the pieces. And that pawn is just going to prove decisive. You know, it's always threatening. He grabs the rook. Aravind, one last trap, by the way. One last trap. Never too late to hang mate, but in a crazy turn of events, Hans Neiman does not blunder mate. And this is over. He walks his king like a gangster to the other side of the board. The winning maneuver is to walk the king. The last, like, 7 moves of this game were made by Hans Neiman escaping the checks and getting down to e2, and the pawn does, in fact, queen. Just incredible. Like, you know, what Hans did like this on the queen side. You know, there's something in chess called a queenside majority. It's when you have 3 pawns to 2 generally on one side of the board, that side being the queen side. The queenside majority won black the game in this game. Just amazing. Excellent play from Hans. He leads the tournament after 5 rounds. He's over 27-30. He's approaching 27-40, playing full of confidence, multiple wins, just feeling very, very good. Now, before I show you some other amazing games, like Sundarov versus Gukesh was epic. Sundarov versus Erdogmus was amazing. Keymer Bluebaum was crazy. Yeah, I just have just a bunch of games. Just my floor started vibrating. Wasn't an earthquake though. I'm going to pop in here to the Challengers section to show you, so far, what seems to be the game of the tournament, played by the player of the tournament. Shout out Faustino Oro, who is 12 years old, rated 2,516, and has 50 days to become the youngest Grandmaster of all time. He's already a Grandmaster by ELO, but in chess you need 3 things called norms, which are tournament performances over a certain level where you defeat a certain number of Grandmasters. What's funny is Faustino cannot get a norm in this tournament because this is called a closed event. An event where you know all the players in advance, you play the same group. If Faustino can get a GM norm in this tournament and doesn't count, that is criminal. All right, and FIDE actually instituted this policy. Not that I don't like the policy, but they instituted this policy after the world record for the youngest grandmaster was broken several years ago by Abhimanyu Mishra, and he made all the norms in closed events. I don't know, I kind of feel like this should freaking grant you a norm, dude. Like, I feel like there should be some exceptions. But anyway, Faustino versus Liu Miaoyi, who's from China, 2430 rated IM, also teenager, excellent player. In this game, she went for a more solid approach with the 4 knights. Faustino played bishop d6. It's a little bit of an ugly move, but it stabilizes the center. And he did this to play for a win. Now, what's funny is they had a game like this earlier this year, and here she continued with knight to d5. Instead, I think in the previous time that they played, she played slightly differently, but I can't remember what she played, either a3 or rook e1 or something, maybe bishop b3. Here she forced issues immediately. And then played like this with d4, and Faustino's position early was very cramped. He went wrong with pawn takes, not the best move. The best move is e4, and then grabbing this pawn. Not easy to do, because then, you know, there's sacrifices on f7. He went wrong. She didn't take with the queen, though, which was better. It was a little bit more active, but knight takes d4 is fine. And here Faustino spent a lot of time, because it's a difficult position for black, you know, like you're really scrunched in. And he went bishop c7. Bishop c7 could prepare the move d6. It could continue to threaten pawn takes d5, maybe bishop b6. White has many, many options here. She went queen h5, playing aggressively. He opened up the rook and put his knight on the queen side, on the king side, and then he brought his queen. So now black is sort of figuring things out. I think white here is going a little bit wrong with the piece coordination. You have to bring the bishop back at some point. She still goes bishop d2, but now comes Faustino with rook e5. And just like the game that Hans just played, when the game gets really spicy, it allows players to, you know, come up with creative opportunities. Miao Yi plays bishop c2, and here has to play g4. She has to commit a pawn in front of her king, which, you know, any 300 rated player can look at this position and go, But also any 300 rated player in this position can look at this position and go, you know, the king, because that's what I imagine all you say. You sound like cavemen. You just, you know, when you're 300, you pawn, push, maybe take because check. I don't know. But g4, you know, this move, you can tell it weakens the king. And you can tell it weakens the king. It means Faustino is now going to go a little bit ballistic. He's a positional player, but if you challenge the golden boy of chess to come up with some nice attacking ideas, he's going to find them. Bishop to b6. a4 is not sensing the danger in the position, and very quickly, he sacrifices the rook. Rook takes f5 off the board. Why? Because when she takes back with the pawn, the knight jumps to e5. This opens up the possibility for the infiltration to happen on the king side while the rook is hitting the bishop. The queen really should stay guarding the bishop, but it's not very easy to do. She tries it, but the bishop is not protected at all because he sacrifices another rook! Faustino Oro detonating the game of the tournament with 2 rook sacrifices in 3 moves. Rook f5, rook c2, and this shows you relative value of the pieces. Knight, bishop, bishop. That's what I talk about. Bishops are 3, rooks are 5, but sometimes, no. Sometimes they are much more valuable. And in less than 30 moves, Faustino Oro swarms the white king and wins this game and shakes the floor. See, that's called a callback. Remember I talked about the floor vibrating? That was like 3 minutes ago. You still here? And click on anything on the sidebar? It's called a callback. Great win for him. And, you know, he didn't just win some crazy games in tactics. He played Erwin Lamy, who's one of the best Dutch players. I think he's even worked with Anish Giri in the past. In this game, Faustino played the English. Erwin played the Dutch. Kind of fitting. d6, e5, f5. Faustino played like this, which is normal. He secures the dark squares of the king side, and then he played bishop f4. In the game, Erwin deliberately took some risks and played a bit provocatively, but Faustino just played normally. Bishop e2, pushed the knight back, and from the opening, he really punished the provocations of his opponent and just went knight to d5. Very simple and straightforward chess. He just wants to put his bishop on c3 and have a very powerful position. We got castles, and then he played queen c2. He has opportunities to maybe long castle, maybe put the bishop on c3, and maybe start a kingside attack. So there's the bishop going to c3. Knight takes d5. He just has a very comfortable position from the opening. And really, this is the problem. When you have a young prodigy that doesn't just checkmate everybody, when you have a young prodigy that also beats people positionally, you're looking at a Magnus situation. Because people are bad at defending slightly worse position. f4. En passant is a bad move because it helps white activate the bishop and potentially will weaken, in the long run, the king. Instead, black probably had to keep the position a little bit more closed, but not easy to do that. It looks very natural to play this move. But after bishop f3 and knight back to f4, rook d1 is coming, and it's going to be bad news. Bishop d5, even long castle here anybody can play, but he plays short castle, which is the best move. Honestly, if I was playing even blitz or classical, this looks so natural to me. But he correctly evaluates that this is even stronger. And the point is that now when black tries to go defend himself, e4 cracks open on the f-file, and in just a short matter of time, Faustino rips in with e5, e6, queen c3, queen e5. Here comes the rook. Now finally the black king is punished for all the pawns moving forward in the opening. And Faustino Oro, this game is almost more impressive than the Miao Yi game. Because in that game, she played inaccurately and allowed him to get such a powerful initiative. She weakened the king. I mean, Ervin is amazing. He's an amazing player. And Faustino played this game just unbelievably well. 95% accuracy. He has 4 out of 5. He has 3 wins. He's up 15 rating points. He's 25-31. It's unbelievable, this norm thing. How you got to get one of the norms in a specific tournament. Bro, he's 25-30. It's so stupid. I understand there's no clean system, but he has to find a specific tournament, which is an open tournament, and then he has to play the certain right number of people. He's so strong. Okay, back to the Masters. As we take a look at Sundarov versus Gukesh, this is a potential World Championship matchup later this year, depending on if Sundarov wins the candidates or not. I made a tier list about it. I do think Fabiano and Hikaru are the 2 favorites, but I think Sundarov is a dark horse. And in this game, well, we get to see him play the world champ. Now, this game was a Queen's Gambit declined. Knight bd7, Queen c2, all normal. And, Gukesh is showing the opening preparation from the World Championship match. This is a very simple position for black. He equalizes from the opening quite comfortably. I don't understand why Sundarov spent so much time. Bishop g5 here, maybe he just didn't want to go into the lines with g5 and knight e4, instead opting for the more solid approach. The problem when you opt for the more solid approach sometimes is, Gukesh is kind of known for not playing easy draws, and he kind of keeps the game going for a while. And in this game, Sundarov was kind of trying to do some stuff on the queen side, but then, Gukesh took some space on the king side, and clearly nothing was happening. And then into the 30th move, something really bad did happen, because Sundarov fell under a lot of pressure on the queen side. Gukesh won the a-pawn, and Sundarov did not take on c6. Queen takes c6 here, just queen takes pawn. Instead, now you can't take on c6 because of black counterplay on the c and b files. And actually, Gukesh sacked his queen and just had a dominant endgame. He had rooks and knights, and he had an infiltration coming on the first rank. This was really looking like a world champion game. And in this position, Sundarov had to sack his rook. He still can't take the knight. Look at this. The knight is untouchable because white is getting mated. So Sundarov has to give a million checks. The king runs around the board. Queen h4. Now there is no mate. Now there's no mate. Rook h1, king g3, king f3. The king runs all the way around. It's still losing. Look at this. This is a circus. This game is a circus. King b4. The king is a move away from ladder mated. A move away, folks. I don't think you understand what you have just witnessed. This is the 61st move of the game. In this position, the checks started on the 43rd move. When Sundarov sacked his rook, this is move 44. Everything until, this whole thing is forced. Everything. This whole sequence, white is surviving by a literal miracle that it's not mate. So now, Gukesh has to find, is there a mating sequence? And he brings the rook to e3. That's wrong. Apparently, rook c7 was winning. And then after g4, the king runs around and actually black wins. Gukesh did not have a lot of time here. And also at this tournament, they have live spectators, and he's on video shushing the live spectators who are analyzing close to the boards amongst themselves. I don't know. This tournament is very strange, but it's very historic, and in chess, we just never break tradition. And on the 71st move of this game, Gukesh makes a mistake, and the game is a draw because of, like, the one pawn, h4, and queen c5, and black cannot escape the checks. Just unreal, an unreal survival. And really, I think this is Gukesh not converting as well as he should have. But I mean, if Sundarov is going to save positions like this in the candidates, everybody's cooked. And Sundarov also has had an amazing start to the tournament. Here he was playing against Erdogmus. This is the strongest 14-year-old ever. Not by physical strength, but just in chess strength. 2660. FIDE. 2660. Some of your puzzle ratings, most of your puzzle ratings aren't even that high, you know? In this game, we had a bishop's opening. This is what it's called. And then knight f3, and all of this is normal. Black castles, rook e8. And now the center kind of trades, and white goes for this type of a position. Where white certainly has an advantage. The pawn is weak. White also is faster to the e-file, slightly better development. And the bishop is just not very good. Like, the truth is, this bishop, if white just goes like c3, like, that bishop, I don't know what on earth the bishop is going to do, really. It's not a pleasant position. It's kind of sad that when you get to like 2600, these are the types of positions you have to just defend. Now, to his credit, Erdogmus does an amazing job. He creates some counterplay. He sacrifices a pawn kind of in the center of the board. It's like, technically, white can take a pawn there. But Sundarov, fueled from his previous game, I don't think can take because there's a very strong attack, but he does take. You know, fueled from his previous game. Rook d5, amazing. Look at this, bishop takes, that's checkmate. It's still equal. He is under a vicious attack. Queen b1, everything on a dark square for white, but bishop d5, a major mistake, which allows Sundarov to find the move g4, very different g4 than we saw in the Miao Yi game. Now white kicks out the queen and has a direct line of attack against the king. It's just a matter of time. c4 apparently just a mistake. He should have just kept it very simple here. Queen h7, king f8, takes. And the winning move in this position is the utterly unsexy rook to d3. And that is sexy, rook f3. And if you stop it, guess who comes to help? First of all, the king. First of all. And second of all, there's just queen h8. So really, the only way maybe to defend would be queen c6, which stops that move. And now the winning move is g5. Obviously. Duh. And just g6. Yeah, right? Yeah, he should have seen that. He doesn't see that, and after c4, Erdogmus might still have a little bit of hope in this position, but the king is a little bit too weak, and despite surviving for a very long time in this game, Sundarov pressures and pressures and pressures, and just like in the game against Gukesh, in that game he drew a losing position. Now he keeps the pressure for some 70 moves, and despite extremely valiant defense, Erdogmus makes a mistake here. The move rook g2, seemingly a normal move, gives white enough time to push the a-pawn as far as possible. And this is a dagger, because if you take rook f8, if takes rook h8, and if you don't take, I would have taken. So this is the end of the game. And Sundarov also has had a very decent tournament. He's won his last 2 games. He also beat Bluebaum in an amazing game. I'm just going to quickly, I'm just going to show you the final moment of this game. In an otherwise better position, Bluebaum here played the move queen c5, and he should have went queen d7. He went queen c5, and Sundarov came in with the amazing knight to d3, a crushing move, an absolutely crushing move. It opens the queen's diagonal, and what it does is it forces the rook off of the defense of the second rank. Check here, g5. And a ladder mate in the middle of the game. And that's why the rook needed to be on the second rank, and there was nothing you could do there. So Sundarov has won back-to-back games. He's getting hot. Getting hot at the right moment. And we're going to see. Now, meanwhile, there is an all-German Derby Day. We've got, you know, it's kind of like when, who are the 2 best teams? Is it Bayern and, like, Dortmund? When I was a kid, those were the 2 best teams. Or is it just like Bayern and everybody else now? Am I missing a team? Köln? Any Köln fans? Anyway, Düsseldorf? I don't know. Yeah. So we've got that. Remember, Bluebaum is the reason Keymer is not in the candidates. Like, and Keymer is the reason Bluebaum is in the candidates. Bluebaum saved the losing position against them in the Grand Swiss, which effectively, you know, had Keymer won that game, everything would have been different. And so in this game, Keymer, who started the tournament with an excellent win, played a Queen's Gambit declined, and all eyes on Bluebaum, by the way. How's he going to do in, not his first ever super tournament, but I think this is his first time in Tata Steel, for sure. They got him in there, and he's got a very nice counter-attacking style. When you disrespect Matthias and you try to beat him in like 20 moves, which in this game you're going to look like, yo, if Keymer gave a lesson to me in this position, he would have said, yeah, I mean, of course, you know, you castle here, and then you bring the rook, and then you maybe. Instead, he went h3, inviting this check, and puts the king in the center. That's a very bold way to play. Honestly, it's not really how Keymer plays. It's a little uncharacteristic, and you know, he's playing it, like I said, one of the best counterattacking players, and Bluebaum just plays an absolute beauty of a game. He just wins a pawn and is like, I'm not afraid of this position. And for good reason, because in just over 30 moves, the white position collapses. Bishop to a4, if you take the bishop, queen d4, there's no more coverage for the king, so the rook gets in. And if you don't take the bishop, like, I don't really know how, you play like, I don't know, like a3, I don't know, rook d4. And the king can't go to c2. The king has to walk into the middle, and it's just a matter of time. Queen g2, etc. Bluebaum beats Keymer. And Bluebaum beat Keymer and then lost to Sundarov. So he's actually on a 50% score. I mean, he beats Keymer the last 2 games. Crazy. Speaking of a matchup where, you know, you're talking about the real world number one, the real number one in the country and the number 2, we go to the Netherlands. I mean, this is a matchup we see every single year between Jordan van Foreest and Anish Giri. And this was early in the tournament. This one was a Sicilian defense. It was a Najdorf. Giri has a course on this opening, which is always tricky. It's always tricky because the truth is, when these players publish courses, those courses are not for you or me. Well, they're kind of like just at my level. You know, they publish these courses on, let's put it like 100 pages of chess scientific research, just absolute cream of the crop stuff, except they cannot disclose all of their secrets. They can't. Because they have to play it in a major tournament against Jordan van Foreest. And Jordan plays bishop e3, which is normal, e5, knight b3, f3. All of this has been played many, many times, okay? Like, we are still in positions that have been reached, you know, many hundreds, if not, you know, thousands of times. Queen d2. You know, black plays h5, which is a move. White long castles, which is one of the most common moves in the position. We have knight bd7, king b1, queen c7, instead of rook to c8, and a3. Now, the move a3 has been played never. Like, literally, maybe 10 years ago there was one game with some various ideas of maybe stopping this, but actually the other idea of the move a3, you're not going to believe this. It's insane. It's to put a knight on a2, and then put it on b4, and then make it go to d5, which is the critical square. Like, one of the key ideas here could literally be knight c1, knight a2, knight b4, knight d5, if you have time to pull it off. He doesn't have quite enough time to pull that off. No, surely not. Oh my goodness, Jordan, knight c1, knight a2, knight b4, dare I say, is horsing around in this game. The knight just goes to d5, and, well, he takes with the pawn, which is also not normal. Usually the knight is taking there. And rook g1, g4. An absolute masterpiece of a game. I have never seen the Najdorf handled like this. I've never seen knight c1, knight a2, knight b4, which is exactly what I'm talking about. Like, things are getting discovered in openings literally all of the time. And unlike the last game where, you know, one of the players clearly sought out to take the other's head off, and he got counterpunched, you know, in this game, it was Jordan, bishop d3, not the most accurate, but it was Jordan just playing a fantastic game. And then the knight repositions back on c1 with queenside pressure. To his credit, Giri equalized, but he's not in great form in this tournament. He already had lost the game, and if it wasn't already he had lost the game, it was the fact that he lost this one, and then he lost after this. You know, it was clear that he had stabilized. And the thing about Anish, because he's playing in the candidates, he has to not lose positions like this. I'm not coaching him, I'm telling you. He has to not lose positions like this in the candidates, because those guys are going to go for 6-7 hours. Oh my God. 6-7 hours in the candidates. And when you take your foot off the gas, like now all of a sudden there's just a second rush of energy, and Jordan just plays like like he's a Norwegian guy. He just pressures and wins the pawn, and even if he doesn't win the game with tactics, he's gonna win this endgame. This is just a winning endgame. He has 2 pawns that are unbelievably strong, and d8 queen is coming, and this is queening. And I think it's quite clear. The German #1 and the Dutch #1 might not be the best players in their countries anymore. I think that's what we can deduce from the sample size of 1 game. No, joking aside, just excellent games. I mean, excellent stuff from Jordan, who I think then went on to... No, he's undefeated. He's 3 out of 5. Giri is 1.5 out of 5. 1.5. 2 losses, 3 draws. And that does happen sometimes when you are trying to hide some of your openings for the candidates tournament, but that's how it goes. Quickly over to the challengers. Ivic versus Carissa Yip. Carissa trying to become a GM, like actually not the way I'm trying to become a GM. And she will probably get there. In this game, she played a Nimso Indian. Ivic showed excellent opening preparation in the early game, playing a very, very close game, starting an attack, locking the center. This position is literally horrible for black. Like, there is no way to describe it. In the Nimso Indian, if you can get this attack going, usually black has counterplay against your doubled pawns. Carissa ain't got nothing. She got nothing. Nothing. There is nothing here. Nothing. White can even play a4. Put the rook on b5. Nothing. This position is horrible. So in this game, she's just going to have to wait to see if Ivic can make a fatal breakthrough. She goes back to g8. Ivic plays h4. Carissa waiting around, and then like he goes for it. She jumps in with the knight. Now again, white could just do nothing. Black does not have a breakthrough, but he's 26-40. He wants to win, so he's gonna start changing the position. He wins a pawn, but for that pawn, Carissa gets some fresh air. She opens up the window. Now she's looking around. Rook b6. She trades. Now she's down 2 pawns. Okay, never mind, just 1. But she's going to get some counterplay. Carissa is very, very tricky with black. She plays a lot of openings where the engine doesn't bless it. But before you know it, there's the counterplay. 1 line was opened up, and there's counterplay down the B file. Not only is white not even better, white is just losing. Queen b6, knight g4. He loses every single pawn in his position, basically, every important pawn. And Carissa just has to bide her time before she breaks in. Rook b2, here comes the a-pawn. Queen g5, this is a mate threat if the queen's not covering. Queen h4, queen h5, queen g3, rook h2, too many threats. And Carissa Yip just probably won her highest against her highest rated player of all time, but I'm not sure. Maybe she has some bigger wins, but you guys can look that up. 24-66. With a win over 26-38, and she has 3 wins. She also beat 25-76 rated Max Varmerdam. She's got 17 rating points gained. She's 24-83. This is my teammate, by the way. Team USA versus Team India. Are we having a rematch, by the way? What is going on? The king throw? I mean, goodness me. So she has 3.5 out of 5. She's having a fantastic tournament. And the last game that I'm going to show you is Abdusattorov versus Prague. This is... this is your 2 favorite, players, your 2 favorite teams right here going at it. Just an excellent matchup. Queen's Gambit declined with h6. I'm not going to lie. I played this line with black. This line sucks ass. This line sucks. Oh my God, it's so bad. It's just some line where you just play something to play something. But this is terrible. a6 to me is much more normal because, you at least threaten like DC and b5 and stuff like that. I played h6, it's terrible, because white just takes and does this, and, well, just watch. I mean, this move is completely useless. It's just, it's fine. Like, now you can play anything, but don't play h6. Just play something else. Because in this game, Abdusattorov literally did nothing. He did nothing special. He took a little space on the queen side. He went for a queen trade. He advanced. Now Prague has a little bit of a weak structure. All right, rook c1, black trying to defend. Knight to a4. Prague under some pressure. Breaks out of the position and basically gets as close to equalizing as is humanly possible. Of course, he's a very good player. But now begins you remember the phase of the game that Anish equalized and then lost? Now's that phase of the game, and now, like, you know, knight f5 is interesting. Rook b6. He goes here. He sacks the knight to get the 2 pawns. Okay, I mean, Nojabek's not stupid. He's not going to take it. And then he sacks his b pawn to get the rook active. And it's always just a little bit unpleasant for black. And before you know it, I mean, black is just like losing. Like before you know it, like rook b8, he's just pawned down. I mean, he's defending the endgame. And somehow you just lose. Like these endgames are, you know, rook endgames are so deceiving. You know, here with black, like white's gonna try to promote and push you back, and yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's just miserable to play these QGDs sometimes. Queen's Gambit declines because you do your best and then you just lose. I mean, there's like these games can't be fun. You just spend like 4 hours getting like a root canal, you know, and Nojabek is the dentist. Just losing. It's a losing endgame. The pawn just promotes. You play d7, d8, or you play d7, rook e8, check, and d8. And honestly, this all happened because of this, obviously. No, I mean, I'm joking. But Nojabek just wins such a nice game. Pragg also really struggling. Also 1.5 out of 5, which is troubling because he's a candidate. And so is, you know, and so is Giri. He lost his first 2 games against Erdogmus and against... Nojabek. Erdogmus had an interesting start to the tournament. He beat Pragg. He beat Pragg in a thunderous game, but then he lost to Fedoseev. Before we go, I will show you the standings. Hans is winning the tournament, tied with Sundarov and Abdusattorov. A lot of players with 3, including the world champ. But we will see what happens. I got to extend this a little bit. After this, it's Tai Dai Van Nguyen, who is Czech, but Vietnamese. And Aravind from India, who has 1.5. So 1.5 is a 4-person tie. And in the challengers, we have Faustino, but we also have Andy Woodward, who I will cover, Aydin Suleimanli, and others here. Bibisara had a good win against Varmerdam, who is down like 20 rating points. I mean, crazy tournament for him. That's all I have for you today. Hope you enjoyed the recap. See you for round number 6. Get out of here.